Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ron Seaver calling in from the National Sports Forum, welcoming you all to our October webinar, NSF webinar. This one's a special one. Today's a special day. October 15th is always a big day here at the NSF because this is the start of our awards season. This is for those of you who are alums and have been with us for many years and many calls. I was looking over the roster of names of people who are on the line here. And we've got some great old friends and visitors, but also some new names. So for those of you that aren't aware of it, at the NSF, we have a couple of main awards that we've been just having a lot of fun with over the years. One is an advertising award called the NSF Achievement Awards, which is built and designed around 8 categories, recognizing 8 best categories in advertising for teams, sports properties, agencies using sports as a theme, and so forth. You don't have to just be a team or a sports property. You could be, I don't know, Dove for Dishes. As long as it has sports as a theme to the commercial, it qualifies. So the application window actually opens tomorrow. And tomorrow is October 16th. So we've got 3 people on the line here today, and you're going to get a chance to hear from each one of them, talking about ideas that their organization has done. And let's face it, I mean, every organization out there is looking for outstanding revenue generating, ticket selling, sponsorship, fan engagement ideas, whether it's sales, whether it's advertising, marketing, management ideas. Everyone's looking for results. So we created these awards, if you would, to recognize and illustrate and have people talk about best case practices. These are the winners that we have for it. If it's the Sammy Award, and we'll talk a little bit about the Sammy Award here coming up here first, it's Sammy's short for Sales, Advertising, Marketing, Management Idea of the Year. And that's a mouthful, so we just call it the Sammy Awards. So the Sammy Awards are done in such a way that we have 6 finalists. People submit between now and December 6th when the window closes their best idea. There's a formula that you follow that Carly would be happy to send you the program. And we're going to ask you 3 questions. What was your objective going in? What action did you take to accomplish that objective? And then what was the result when all was said and done? And all 3 of those obviously are very, very important, especially the results on the Sammy Awards. We want to know what happened as a result, because frankly, and it's always one of our top drawing breakout sessions at the forum. You know, routinely, I think last year we had 112, 120 people in that room because they're going to get 6 ideas. Each of the finalists stands up. They get 10 minutes to talk, take you through their program. So any of us with a pencil and a paper in there can write down and take back some great ideas like, wow, we should be doing something like this. This really, really worked well. So that's what we want to do. We don't want you to miss out on picking up the information, but we hope that you also might be willing to, throw one in there. Do you have an idea? Do you have a great program that worked really, really well for you? And I have to tell you, though, right, the bar is going to be very high. You're going to hear from 3 panelists here. They're about to take over. The first one you're going to hear from is Alum Jaffer. He's the Manager of Strategy and Global Partnerships for MLSE, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Alum here in just a second. And then we're going to get a chance to jump over to the NFL and hear from Laura Candela, the Marketing Manager for the Chicago Bears. Very interesting how we met the Bears last year at one of our meetups. And the program that they're doing. So not to steal any of Laura's thunder, but you're going to love to hear about what they were doing and what they accomplished in the Achievement Awards. And then we're going to hear from Aaron Schwartz, a good friend of ours, a Director of Brand and Creative from the Minnesota Vikings, and talking about the programs that they have done. The Vikings have won the overall Achievement Award a couple of years ago. The Bears beat them. Talk about that rivalry. It continues even in the Achievement Awards. So the Bears actually beat out the Vikings last year for the overall Achievement Award. I have to say, though, the all-time record is the Milwaukee Brewers. They won it 5 years in a row. So nobody's quite challenged that one. But our first speaker is starting in that direction, and that's Alum Jaffer, Manager of Strategy and Global Partnerships for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, otherwise known as MLSE. Those of us who know about them, they're the parent company for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the NHL, the NBA's Toronto Raptors, go Raptors, the champs, Toronto FC, MLS, In the CFL, the Toronto Argonauts, or the Argos, the Toronto Marlies in the AHL, minor league hockey, Raptors 905 in the NBA G League, and TFC2 in the USL. So more than a few things on his plate. But here's the thing. Not only do they do it very, very well. And right now, they are the two-time defending champions of the Sammy Award. And it's no surprise because we've become big friends through the award program, gotten to know Alum. He's now a proud member of our steering committee for the NSF. He was named the MLSE Major League Soccer Rookie of the Year for 2016-2017. Finished first in the world for sports marketing and management decision-making at the international competitions held in Anaheim, California in 2009. He first joined us in Frisco, Texas, where he presented the Sammy Award. He was one of the 6 finalists and won that year. Came back and won it again this last year in Las Vegas. So he's trying to see if there's he can become a 3-time defending champion coming up here in Atlanta in February. So we're really anxious to hear about what they're doing. He will be leading a breakout session. One of the interesting things about winning the Sammy Award is that one of the benefits, one of the awards, is that you lead a breakout session the following year. So we'll get in, and he did this he had some help. I think he had a co-leader with him in Las Vegas. That room was packed, and everybody loved it. The response to it was great. So first and foremost, welcome, Alum. It's a pleasure and honor to have you. And we wanted you, if you would take us through a little bit of the Sammy thought process and what you guys did and what you're planning coming up. So welcome.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Ron. And thanks to the Sports Forum for having me here. Always such a pleasure to join, and excited to hopefully see everyone on the line in Atlanta. We're really excited about this partnership that we'll be walking you through today. It was our launch for the Google Home Mini that we did with the Toronto Raptors just a couple seasons ago. I say a couple seasons ago operatively there because you can see DeMar DeRozan on the front of this campaign, who notably does not play for the team anymore. But it's had a lot of success, and I think what was really tremendous about this campaign was actually the strategy we took in establishing our creative. The media strategy we then deployed in order to achieve 360 coverage really amongst fans, and then the results that drove with those fans, which were pretty remarkable. So we'll go to the next slide here, but a lot of people know Google for this, the infamous search bar, unless you're a Bing user. But not a lot of people know that Google is actually a hardware company. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see they've actually recently been launching a whole line of phones. So notably today actually is the launch of Pixel 4, but they really only recently got into the hardware game. They acquired Nest a while ago, and they just recently started making phones. But one of their new devices that they were really excited about was the Google Home Mini. And they had a few key objectives they really needed to accomplish with the launch of this product. So number one, they needed to drive awareness of the Google Home Mini. And really, in order to do that, it required creating a really compelling case for a consumer as to why they might need to buy that product, where traditionally it might seem a little bit gimmicky. Secondly, they really needed to establish a competitive differentiation against Amazon's Alexa. So it was the first time anywhere in the world where Alexa's mini products, the Echo, and Google's Home Mini were launching at the same time, and it was in Canada. So establishing a competitive differentiation for this product was going to be huge. This was a huge launch for Google because the Home Mini at a price point of about $40 was typically a consumer's first device into their home. And they knew that if you could get a user with the first device in there, then all the other products for their smart home that they would typically buy after, usually they tend to buy in the same brand. So if you buy Google Home, you'll buy the Google Home Nest thermostat or things like that that are higher priced and make a higher margin. And then number three, they really needed to educate fans. So beyond awareness of what the product is, what it does, how could it help you in your daily routine, and why would you care? And really engaging them. So flipping to the next slide. Really, we showed them how a Toronto Raptors partnership could help them deliver on all of that. So from a reach standpoint, there's 11.5 million fans in the country, which is about 1 in every 3 or 4 Canadians would identify as a fan of the Toronto Raptors. So in terms of having an opportunity to deliver a relevant message, the Raptors were really that voice for them, something that when they tried to talk about the benefits of the product or educate fans on how it works or why they should buy it, doing it in combination with the Raptors just felt familiar and comfortable for Canadians. So they were already engaged the second they were tuning into these commercials. So if you flip to the next page, you'll see really our idea then was to partner with Raptors players to show fans how Google Home could help them in their daily routines. Now, what's really interesting about this is we never positioned the athletes as athletes. In order to maintain relevance amongst Canadians, we thought it would be best to showcase them as regular human beings. So you can see here a picture of DeMar DeRozan with his feet up on his couch. Really, this commercial, they were all just really short, kind of cheeky ads, but this one was 15 seconds long. It was just DeMar walking into a room. He kind of peeks around, makes sure no one's looking, and then he plops up on his couch and goes, "Hey Google, play DeMar DeRozan highlights on my TV." And it's kind of just this short, kitschy way of him watching his own highlights, playing to like that superstar ego. And if you flip to the next slide, what we did then was we actually created commercials like this to showcase 7 different functions of the product. So that highlights commercial I just referenced was for video streaming, but we also made ones around their day scheduling, timers, multi-voice, search functionality, Netflix integration, and voice calling. I think, Carly, if you want to share that handout link, I've just shared a link where you guys can watch all of the 7 different commercials after if you'd like. And if we flip to the next slide, what we then did with these commercials was make sure that we took a 360 approach to make sure that wherever fans were watching or consuming basketball content, they had an opportunity through these short, funny ads to see how they could get more of the Raptors in their life, or just the little things that Google Home could do around the house. So we aired the ads in Stadium, we pushed them on the Raptors social channels. You know, luckily for us, Google owns a little website called YouTube, so they could push the ads on YouTube. We did PR tours, we put them at out of home and concourse signage, so the coverage was pretty exhaustive, and we tried to be really intelligent about how we position all of the creative. So, you know, if you were seeing something on social, you can see there, it might have been the Netflix buddy spot, and we created a paid campaign. So when you were watching that commercial, it would typically air, it would try to show up in your feed sometime between 7 and 10 p.m. Again, to promote that ease of Netflix integration, sometime where you'd actually be at home watching Netflix. Or if you look at that 4th picture there, or 5th picture there on Ricoh Coliseum, this is an out-of-home board that we own leading into the stadium. And we would put questions up there like, "Hey G, what time are the Raptors playing tonight?" So you could see like, oh, on my drive home, all I would need to do is ask Google, or these are the types of questions I could ask Google at home. What we did then was we wanted to take a bit of a non-traditional approach to PR. So rather than sending the athletes on, you know, ESPN or TNT to talk about the campaign, we actually put DeMar DeRozan on Unbox Therapy, which is a global YouTube channel where its influencer Lewis actually unboxes new technology. What we did was we just put DeMar on set with him. We let the camera roll, and for about an hour, the two of them just kind of kicked around and asked a bunch of questions to the product, and then Lewis cut it together into a funny video, and it blew up. In the first 24 hours, the video got 1 million views alone. So some really spectacular PR results on a channel that we wouldn't traditionally send our players on. What we did next was we wanted to figure out a kind of unique out-of-the-box way to get the product in fans' hands. So we created this one-of-a-kind tech-driven in-game feature. You can kind of see these big, like you can see them in the distance of what looks like small balls in this picture, but they're actually all these massive beach balls that can light up upon touch. So we drop them from the rafters, and every time fans touch them, they would change into a different Google color. Eventually, when the feature would stop, we would say like, "Hey Google, stop," and it would stop. Whoever fans were near the balls were instructed to hold them. All the lights in the building would go up, and one ball would start flashing red. And every single fan in that row, in that section, would win a free Google Home Mini. And we gave away, I think, just close to like 360 Google Home Minis throughout the season. So pretty cool way to get the product in fans' hands as well. Next slide. The fan response to the content was overwhelmingly positive, which was really great. But if you flip to the next slide, this is what we actually thought was pretty spectacular. A lot of the players started commenting on the spot. So Jakob Poeltl, who's on the left there, played at Ohio State with Kyle Kuzma of the LA Lakers and DeLon Wright of the Memphis Grizzlies. And as these guys were posting the content on their feeds, we actually had NBA players commenting in and making fun of them or commenting on the spots as well. So it was really great to see that level of traction amongst the league and the players. So I think the results really do speak for themselves, but this is really what made the campaign a smashing success. So we were targeting about 4 million engagements, so likes, comments, or shares. That number was about 53.5 at the end of the campaign. Google wanted to become the #1 smart speaker in the country, targeting a 50.1% share. We actually got a 63% market share. And Amazon only achieved a 30% share. So Google actually more than doubled Amazon Alexa's share in the market. And Canada became the first country in the world where Google Home Mini had a higher share of the smart home category than Amazon Alexa. And lastly, we really wanted to achieve a strong household penetration. Sorry, Carly, do you mind going back to that previous slide? Thanks. So our target household penetration was about 3%, which was the same as household penetration in the USA when they first launched the product, and we actually achieved 8%, making it one of Google's most successful hardware launches globally, which was pretty great. You can probably skip ahead past the next slide, Carly. And this one was really some nice icing on the cake. So the launch strategy was so successful that Google Australia quite literally copied it for their market. And I do mean that literally, because they partnered with the Australian Football League, which is their rugby league, or the Australian Rugby League. And they partnered with 3 different rugby athletes who literally created the commercials that we wrote word for word. So same sets, same concept, same everything. You can see that picture on the right is their version of our DeMar DeRozan highlight spot that I referenced earlier. So a really incredible campaign. It was our first time working with Google, which was a huge partner to bring on board. And I'm happy to say that the results were so successful that we were able to renew the partnership for an additional 3 years and grew it to more than double its size that it was in year 1. So we are really proud of this one, and took an army to make it happen, but some pretty great results there. And if you guys have any questions at the end, feel free to just throw them in the chat.
I think that's great. I mean, you saw an example as to why they're the 2-time defending champions. And I want to say last year's competition was really, really great. I mean, it was really a lot of fun. It's one of the ones where all the attendees get to vote as well. We have some former winners that are judges. It's almost a little bit like American Idol or something, where you've got your in studio judges, but then the audience also gets to weigh in that's there and vote. And they absolutely love this program. And you could just see it a couple of slides ago, Carly, if you have it, where you saw what the objective was. And then, yeah, that slide right there. And you can see how they just exceeded what their target was versus what they achieved. And that's a big component of the SAMI. It's like, what happened as a result? Maybe your goal was to, I don't know, increase group sales, or perhaps you wanted to target a certain audience. You want to do an off-season engagement or a non-traditional revenue thing. That's fine. But you just need to let us know right up front, what was your objective going in? What actions did you take? And you just saw that from Alum. I mean, that's just an incredible action that they built around this program here. And then at the end, the coup de grace is what were the results. And so we get all of these submissions. And like we said, the window opens tomorrow, and you have until December 6th to send these in. So we give you until Friday the 6th to get that done. And then what we do is we batch them all together. And then we have a group here in San Diego of sports execs that all come together, and we sit down and we debate, and we'll go through all of the submissions, and we'll come up with the 6 best ones. So we basically have to boil it down to the 6 best ones, and then the 6 are then presented at the forum itself. This year, the forum will be in Atlanta from February 9th to the 11th. And so during that, one of the dates, we'll have a breakout session it's called the 6 best ideas you should be doing now. And that's, everybody just knows, for years we've been doing this. And that's the one to come to, because you'll get to hear from people like Alum that will sit there and tell you, here's a program that we did, this is what we were trying to do, and this is what we accomplished, and just did a terrific job. So if anybody is interested in more information on the SAMI, please, you're going to reach out to Carly, C-A-R-L-I-E, at sports-forum.com. That's Carly at sports-forum.com, and I'll mention that again. Or certainly visit our website at www.sports-forum.com. And if you have any questions for any of our speakers or anything you want to speak offline to them, you can also reach out to Carly as well, and she'll connect you. But next up, we're going to switch from the SAMI Awards over to the Achievement Awards. Now, the achievements, if anything, are actually even older. They're older. This one actually started back in 2003 and 2004. And so this has a long history here of recognizing the best, most creative advertising going on in the sports world. And as I mentioned at the top of the hour, there's 8 categories that we have, and I'll run through them here very quickly. You have print, alternative media, social mobile media campaign, out-of-home, sales collateral, in-stadium, in-arena, internet and web-based advertising, and of course, television advertising. And then we have individual winners, so you can just enter a category. Maybe you just want to enter print or something, which we're going to talk about a little bit here because we have our print winner coming up. Or, you know, you want to enter television. Television's usually our most competitive category. We have the most submissions in that one. But out of home, social, digital, you have different campaigns. You don't have to enter them all. You can just enter one of them. And the best part of it, entry for both SAMI and the Achievement is one single entry is $139, or you can send in what we call a 6-pack for $600. And many people do that as well, and they want to enter. They might want to enter 4 in the Achievement and 2 in the SAMI. That's done. We're happy to do that as well and split that up. The price is the same either way, but you can enter and win a category. But at the end, our overall aggregate scores always tell us who is the best. And that is the best of the Achievement. This is the overall, best of the best, if you would, the NSF Achievement Award winner. So we're pleased to present to you next, and you can see on your screen, Laura Candela, the marketing manager for the Chicago Bears. Not only did they win the print categories outright, but they won the best overall award for 2019 for the Achievement Award. So you are hearing from, and the campaign, as I mentioned before, I knew about that. I found out about what the Bears were doing, and they found out about the Achievement Awards when we did a meetup. We did a group in November. We do meetups in November. We're going to go to 4 cities. Last year we went to 4 cities, and Chicago was one of them. And we went to Chicago, and we actually had to sit down with the Bears talking about this campaign, and it just blew us away. And we said, hey, guys, by the way, did you know we have an advertising competition? Well, they didn't, but now they do. And they entered, and they crushed it last year for their first year. So I'm very pleased to turn the floor over to Laura. She's a master's graduate from the University of Oregon with a great deal of marketing and research in her background. Started out with Starcom MediaVest. She was there for 2.5 years as their research manager before spending 4.5 at ARC Worldwide. She was their senior strategist. She actually jumped back and went in the faculty side at the University of Oregon. Before joining the Bears. She's been the manager of a marketing manager for the Bears for the last 2 years. Attended her first forum in 2018 in Frisco as well. So we were proud to have her come back last year in Las Vegas. So Laura, again, welcome back to the forum and tell us a little bit about the Bears program.
Awesome. Thanks, Ron. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to talk to you guys about the 2018 Monsters of the Midway campaign. I was lucky enough to be involved with a lot of different pieces of this campaign last year. So I just wanted to share with you a bit more about it. Like Ron was saying, you know, we were fortunate enough to win the Achievement Award last year, and I think we entered pretty much every single category, because what you'll see is this campaign really pulled through every single thing that we did as an organization in 2018. So it's work that we're extremely proud of as an organization, and it came to life with the support and hard work of many, many people here. So we'll just dive right in. So I'm going to start with a little bit of an origin story, because every good comic book character needs one of those. And first, I want to just set the scene a bit for you about where the Bears were in mid-2017. We were just starting to think about planning for the 2018 season, and we knew that we had the Bears' 100th season coming up in 2019, which is what we're in the middle of right now. And so we had this kind of gap year that was an opportunity to do something fun. You know, we know that we have some of the same issues as many of our peers in pro sports, and particularly the NFL, in terms of kind of an aging fan base and declining youth engagement. So we were looking for something fresh and interesting to spark interest in kind of a different way. Mid-2017, we also, you know, had some playmakers that were starting to emerge on the field. Mitchell Trubisky had just been named our starting quarterback, and so we had some kind of fun names and fun personalities on our team that were starting to emerge. And almost most importantly, you know, we were in a position at that point where leadership was willing to take a risk and try something new. But really, this origin story has got to go back a bit further to this guy. This is Israel Donajay. He was a defensive end for the Bears in the early 2000s, and now he's an entrepreneur, an ambassador, and a creative partner to the organization. And there's a story that dates back to the 2007 training camp in Bourbonnais, which is where we host our training camp every summer. And my SVP, Scott Hagel, can tell the story much better than I can, and I think he did at that November meetup, actually. But Izzy approached the team about an idea that he had had kind of in his dorm room at camp, and it was an idea for a comic book universe where professional athletes are actually superheroes, and their athletic prowess on the field is, you know, just one part of their superhero powers. And he thought it might be a creative marketing idea for the team as well. And the timing wasn't quite right in 2007 for this story to really come to life. It lived on with Izzy. It spawned his company, Athletic Comics, and their ongoing comic series called The Protectors, which you can read and buy and see regularly. But it also stuck with Adonijay, and it stuck with Scott Hagel, and they knew that eventually the time would be right to tell this Monsters in the Midway story, and it really was, you know, in 2018. So with Bears 100 looming ahead, 2018 was kind of the perfect year to take a risk and tell this story. We really wanted to engage fans in a new and unexpected way, and so we were able to tell the story of the Bears 2018 season with this comic book twist by bringing to life this blended universe of comics and superpowers and real life football. So at this point, we went back to Izzy, and we struck up this partnership with his company, Athletic Comics, and they were with us every step of the way as we built this campaign and story throughout 2018. So if you guys follow the NFL at all, which I'm assuming you do, then you know that the schedule release videos have become kind of a big thing over the past few years. So it only seemed right for us to launch this campaign with our schedule release. So the video and the assets were released in April, and the video spot sets up the Monsters in the Midway universe, both introducing our 2018 schedule and showing how the interaction was going to play out between this alternate universe and our live game day environment. That first spot was released digitally. It's actually still available on a lot of our social channels. So while we couldn't put video in here, I would love to show it to you guys because it is still awesome. I would recommend hopping onto our YouTube channel and searching for Monsters of the Midway. It'll come up in there, and it's a pretty cool 2-minute video, just kind of setting everything up. And it gave us the opportunity to showcase kind of the fun, over-the-top caricatures of our opponents. You could see that cool green cheese monster, and one of my personal favorites was the kind of Viking Iceman. So Aaron's going to talk a bit more about the Vikings in a bit, but that one was a cool one too. But then from there, we really got to start introducing our players, giving them the opportunity to really be front and center in the story, which would continue throughout the year. So the response to these initial pieces was actually really, really positive. It got a bunch of really good press, but more importantly, our fans seemed to really embrace it. And so we realized we might actually have something big here. So the stars were kind of aligning perfectly for us at this time. So this is April 2018. You know, we had this fresh new coaching staff and this young, hungry team full of kind of big personalities that are coming out. And then we had this kind of really interesting idea that was gaining traction with our fans. And so we really decided to go all in on the Monsters in the Midway and just pull this campaign through, like I said, literally everything that we did in 2018. So it showed up in all of the expected places throughout the year. It really became kind of the look and feel of all of our communication on chicagobears.com, on our official app, in all of our email communication. We'll just click through some of these graphics for you quickly. And then even through to our advertising messaging, including video and out of home. So the beauty of this campaign was that there was this huge library of assets, from kind of backgrounds to players to villains, that could be used. Yeah, we can stick on this one. That could be really used in a bunch of different ways. So you'll notice that in every execution, our primary logo mark are still in there somewhere, because it was really important for us for all of this to be instantly recognizable as coming from the Bears and as part of this campaign. So one of the places where we could get really creative was on social media, where animation and video allowed us to really have fun with kind of the interplay between the comic book world and the real world players, practice, all that sort of stuff. And actually, if you want to go back one, I do want to show those tickets real fast, because those are really cool too. We pulled it through into our sales material, and that ticket package went out to all of our season ticket holders. And it actually turned out to be the last year that we printed paper tickets. So for 2018, we made the switch to fully mobile. 2019, sorry, what year is it? 2019. We made the switch to fully mobile ticketing. So these really became kind of a cool collectible piece for our fans too, which was just awesome. But it came all the way through into the stadium environment. So this was the moment where we got to make the transition from the superheroes to the athletes on the field who would play out the real battle. So our video board assets, everything like that, kind of used this theme. And then we also got to bring it to life in some fun and unexpected ways. So we created coloring books that were a great giveaway all year long. And then we made fun fan giveaways like these little superhero capes that we gave out at training camp and some of our other events. We made these little giant cutouts of our players that were a fun photo op too. And then the thing that was kind of cool about this was because we were, you know, dabbling in this new world of like comic books and pop culture, gave us permission to show up in some really unexpected places. So we had a booth at Wizard World Chicago, which is a comics and pop culture convention in August of 2018, where we were able to just like showcase all of the work and the story. And then we were also able to share some space with Athletic Comics as our you know, key partner through this whole process at C2E2 this past March, which was pretty cool too. The last couple of things in here too, you know, there were opportunities for our partners to get involved, which was great. A lot of our corporate partners helped us create some additional cool fan giveaways. The thing on the right are these mini fathead decals that incorporated 2 of our partners, and then were actually distributed exclusively at a third partner at Jewel-Osco. So the partners were all really excited about it. Even our retail partners got on board. Both of our retail partners, Fanatics and Delaware North, helped us to create some custom apparel and posters and make those available to fans who wanted to get more involved. So there's a couple of retail things on the next slide. But then I think the thing that I think was my personal favorite part of this campaign, and what I think is what helped vault us into winning the print section, is that, it was much more than just a cool graphics package. It was really a, fun, unexpected way to tell the story of our season, because we actually concepted, drew, and wrote comic strips for each week. So we set the stage for the universe with a few strips, during training camp and during preseason, but then really drove the story with a new comic strip each week that set up our battle against the villain or opponent that we were playing that week. And then on the next slide, we partnered with the Chicago Tribune to release these each week. So while fans are really used to seeing, Bears coverage in the sports section, then in the comics section every Sunday as well, there was, that week's strip that would set up kind of whoever the opponent was that we were playing that week. These were simultaneously released across all of our social channels, and it played out all season long, including some special editions in January when the Bears made playoffs for the first time in a few years. So overall, the fan response to this campaign has been amazing. To be honest, winning helps. The Bears had a big season last year, and that really helped buoy the story and this campaign along for sure. But we were reassured, each week when we would post these things to see how fans really seemed to love the work. And, it was fans kind of across the spectrum. We would get younger fans and all the way through to older fans who seemed to really love it and were telling us that they loved it. So to wrap this all up, we did know that this was really a one-year thing. We closed out 2018. We knew we were turning the page into Bears 100 for 2019, but there were a couple of last-minute opportunities that we wanted to lean into just a little bit. C2E2 was one of them, and the other thing was these limited edition comic books that we created that combined all of the strips from the season. We printed 1,500 of these and used them as a really premium giveaway. We did a Twitter giveaway that sold out in 8 minutes. I think we were giving out about 500 of them, 8 minutes, and those were gone. And the campaign is actually carrying on in 2019 in a much more scaled down way. So from a visual perspective, the look and feel of it does live on in some of our youth initiatives. So our kids club and our mini monsters, which is our youth football program, you'll still see a lot of the Monsters of the Midway visual elements. And then the storytelling is actually continuing still into year 2. So we are releasing a comic strip, a 4-panel comic strip they're releasing Saturday mornings on our social channels that is similarly continuing that kind of setting up the villain story. But we've also been able to work in, what we've got going on with Bears 100 this year, incorporating some of our, legacy marquee players. The Bears have a long history of Hall of Famers, that sort of stuff. So they're all kind of being incorporated into the story in a new way. So that is it. That's Monsters of the Midway campaign. I think, again, the way that the team was able to pull this through into all facets of our communication and everything we did in 2018 was huge, and especially the opportunity for us to really partner with one of our alumni, with Israel Donajay and his, post-football career. That, to us, was also a big piece of why this campaign was so important to us and why we're so proud of it. So I will take any questions either in the chat box here, or like Ron said, if you want to send them to Carly, happy to answer any follow-up questions afterwards. But thanks for letting me talk through.
Hey, Laura, thank you so much. I mean, as you can see, and I don't know, for those of you that aren't in Chicago, when we were in Chicago last year, and living out here in San Diego, we had not heard this program. But when you got in Chicago, boy, I tell you, the people in the audience, and we had, 100, 120 people in the audience for that meetup, and they were all totally into this. They absolutely loved the campaign. I'm so glad to hear. That was the question I was going to ask, is that, is this program continuing? I know that you had to kind of take a break in the action. You said early on, this is kind of like a between year type of thing to roll into the 100 years, but that was such a killer idea. It's a shame to see it just go away, and who knows, maybe in the future it'll dial back up, but you've really created something here. And as those of you who are at listening in that are overseeing your advertising, you can see the different elements and components. That's why they entered so many of the different categories, everything from print, alternative, out of home. You saw with the car cards that they had going on television. We're not able to show video on on our system here. But to what Laura just talked about, by all means, go to YouTube and put in Monsters of the Midway. You'll love the commercials. The TV commercial spots were absolutely terrific. Not hard to understand at all how they actually walked away with the best of show advertising for the year, as well as just won the print category outright. Excuse me. And that's a kind of an interesting thing for those of us that are on the line here. And again, not to shamelessly copy what they've got here, but this concept you could duplicate in your own market. So hopefully you have your antenna up, and you know, the forum is a family, and Laura's part of it. If you have questions about it, she'd be happy to help you out. We're here for each other. And just ask her some questions about what's going on. But it may be an idea, an essence here that you can take back, and we call it swipe and deploy in your own market, because outside of Chicago, probably people in Atlanta or Miami did not see this program, and they would think you're brilliant, as the Bears were brilliant. So certainly every congratulations and kudos to you. And like I said before, you can enter one category if you just want to put in your print. I'm so glad that Laura put them in. And in order to win the best of, I should put this caveat in there. You have to enter at least 5 of the 8 categories. So in order to be considered for the best of show, you don't have to enter all 8, but you do need to enter 5 of the 8. And you can certainly do that with the 6-pack. And so enter 5, 6, 7, and throw one into the Sammys, because we'd certainly love to hear about your marketing strategies as well. So that's absolutely terrific. And thank you so much, Laura, for sharing with us. And again, guys, keep in mind the window opens tomorrow and it goes until December 6th. So we're going to wrap up here. Get to hear from a longtime friend of ours from the Vikings organization. This is Erin Schwartz. I'm going to be turning the floor over to. And she's the Director of Brand and Creative for the Minnesota Vikings. She is a graduate of Drake University before starting her career as the Marketing Director for Radio Disney for several years, for 3 years, even spent a year where she was a DJ. So she comes obviously out of the radio world and came on into sports. She joined the Vikings organization in 2007 as a marketing manager of brand and digital strategy. She's been there in the Vikings organization for a total of 13 years. All told, if you would, and certainly the last 5 years she's been the head director of brand and creativity for the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, like I mentioned, they actually won the best of a couple of years ago, and this past year they came in and they actually won several categories. They won best in stadium and in arena for their Bring It Home campaign, and best internet and web-based for Veterans Voyage. So that said, we would love to hear, Erin, if you would, take us through the campaign and tell us about your achievement.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I wanted to take a minute to chat with you all today about the submission that we did that won the Best Internet Web Base, and that's a program that we called our Veterans Voyage. This idea actually came to us, if you want to go to the next slide, because our partner Hy-Vee, which is a local grocery store, was looking for a way to honor veterans. That was one of the pillars of their brand. And certainly every year the NFL has our Salute to Service game, where we want to keep coming up with new and interesting ideas around saluting our military vets and active duty members. And so we wanted to take an idea that could work for both parties. And simultaneously, we wanted to make sure we were getting the best reach as possible. And we know with some of these very, heartwarming and personal military stories, one of the best spaces to do that is online and on the web. And so we really tried to structure a program that would speak to a digital audience. So basically the idea we came up with was a promotion called the Veterans Voyage. It started, the first thing we did online is we asked fans to nominate a veteran in their life by using the hashtag Veterans Voyage. And so out of the gates, fans sort of shared the message on our behalf that the Minnesota Vikings and Hy-Vee, it was really important to us to honor military by nominating. And then if you want to move to the next slide, we ultimately picked 5 different veterans and invited them to a breakfast at Hy-Vee's at their restaurant. They thought it was just a breakfast honoring them, but little did they know that Vikings legend Paul Krause showed up and literally had suitcases and airplane tickets. And at that moment, they got in a limo and they went to the airport and they flew to Washington, D.C. So it was something we worked on on the back end to communicate with their families on the front end, but all of our veterans were incredibly surprised in that moment. We took them straight to DC, and we gave them these amazing private tours throughout some of the most iconic spaces there. We made sure to have a full production team there collecting both video and stills. We had interviewers who could write stories. So for us, it was really important to grab as much content from this moment as possible to really talk to them about these kind of how they felt about being present. One of the things that we also did to help is on that front end of the trip, we asked fans to, we find often that fans really connect to our brand in a strong way when we provide them with an opportunity to be altruistic. So we allowed you, if you were a rewards member, to donate some of your points to help increase and improve the experiences of these fans there. So you could donate your points, and that would give these, the veterans even more experiences while they were in DC. Everyone who chose to donate their points in that matter got a salute to service pin, and they were recognized on our big ship sail video board outside of the stadium during our salute to service game. Of course, all of this then wrapped up with the salute to service game back at US Bank Stadium. We had, if you want to go to the next slide, we had all of the videos that we had collected, and we created a great in-game piece. And the big surprise is after the in-game piece, Hy-Vee came and provided free groceries for a year to all of these veterans, which is another really great on-field moment for all of us. So all in, I think, by honing in on those three different ways to really connect to fans and our community on the web, both asking them to nominate a veteran in their life, asking fans to donate their points, their rewards points to help improve the experience, and then putting all of that great content both in DC and in game. Those three different ways really maximize the exposure for both Hy-Vee and this idea as a whole. The duration of this program, all in on content, was over a month with the build up and then the actual and then the after. And so it really helped kind of extend the window and make a really big moment that gave us a lot more exposure than we had seen in events like this in the past. So just one way. I know you guys are all doing some really exciting things, but a lot of us are asked to do things, whether it be about veterans or whether it be about cancer. And this was one way that we made a big impact that I thought I'd share with you guys.
Oh, I think that's awesome. Thank you so very, very much. And Aaron, you guys always do a great job. I mean, we've got some real veterans, if you would, of the Achievement Awards, and you guys get it. And we just think you guys, all three of you, just do an absolutely terrific job. I wanted to mention one little inside tip that's really kind of fun, kind of an inside secret here, if you would. I mentioned earlier that to enter a campaign is $139. And this is why I think you should do it. Because when we're done, and what Carly's working on now, she's finalizing basically a yearbook. It's a video yearbook, if you would, that showcases the 6 finalists in each category. I mean, why have to reinvent the wheel if you don't have to? If you're responsible for the advertising and marketing for your organization, and you're trying to, you're sitting down going, all right, what am I going to do next year? Why start with a blank canvas when you can look at, put in, the jump drive and take a look at 6 of the best categories from the previous year, the winner, second, third place, and the 3 other finalists. But we put together, if you would, a yearbook of the best advertising. Now, how do you get this jump drive? Well, it's simple. Everybody who enters at least one category gets one for free. So she'll be mailing these out now. They'll be arriving probably in your mailbox in the next couple of weeks. And you'll have a compilation of the 6 best television spots, campaigns from this last year, the 6 best internet, 6 best social and mobile media campaigns that were done. And that's worth the price, I think, worth the price of admission right there of sending in a campaign. Even if you don't love your submission, just get the DVD. I think it actually costs you, if you just want to buy the DVD, you can buy it. And it's probably more expensive than $139. I think it's like $278 or something to buy the DVD. And I think you're nuts to do that. Enter one of your campaigns, and you can get it for $139 for the price of submitting your campaign. And this way you can keep a compendium each year of some of the best. Go back 3-4 years and you're pulling out a spot and you're like, oh, I love the theme, or I loved how they did that. And you can build your own idea strategy around that, work with your ad agency on it, which is a good point. It's not always the teams and sports properties that send in for the achievement and Sammy. Sometimes it's their agencies that do it. Agencies will do it on behalf of. So we're always going to ask you agencies that are listening in here, if you're one of the finalists and if you win, are we recognizing you, or are we recognizing your client, or are we recognizing both? Just wanting to make sure that we get it correct. And we love to identify the winners on Tuesday morning, which this year will be February 11th. We'll be identifying the winners in each of the 8 categories. Real quick, again, that's print, alternative media, social and mobile media, out of home, sales collateral, in stadium, in arena, internet and web-based, and television. And as you can see on your screen here now, this is the information you need to have. That's the Achievement 2020 and the Sammy. The October 16th window opens tomorrow through December 6th. That's a Friday. And to get information to submit, turn in, just reach out to Carly Dawson, Carly at sports-forum.com. And like I said, you can go to our website, sports-forum.com, and just see the information. Just pull down the menu bar for the awards and competitions, and you'll see Sammy and Achievement. And we'd love to hear from you for either or both. Oftentimes, advertising goes into the Achievement. We don't need to know necessarily what the results were for the Achievement. Oftentimes, it's hard to evaluate the effectiveness necessarily of a radio campaign, and it sold 126 season ticket packages. So advertising, we're just looking for creative. Who does the best job of getting their message across? Now, the Sammy, that's for the marketing folks. It doesn't count if you can't measure it. You've got to be able to figure out, did this program work? So we're going to ask you 3 questions again. What was your objective going in? And like we said, the objectives change. Everybody has a different one. You might be trying to launch a new product like Alum was trying to do with Google. And you might be helping a sponsor out in that case. You may be trying to draw more millennials. You may be having a special interest group type of thing that you're appealing to. It's up to you. You tell us what the objective was going in, then you tell us what you did to accomplish that objective, and then of course finally you let us know what happened as a result. So that in a nutshell, 3 great panelists. Our thanks to all 3 of you. Our thanks to all of you for listening. A quick shout out, I know we won't be doing a webinar again for a month or so, but if you live in the following markets, we are going to be doing a meetup. So on Wednesday, November 6th, we're going to be in Los Angeles at Bank of California Stadium, and it's kind of fun, the meetups. We've been doing this, will be our 6th year doing it. We just come into town, we take over a bar, it's free. Come out, the drinks, the Budweisers are on us from 6 to 7 o'clock. And then at 7 o'clock, we have a super panel where we have 4 panelists, very similar to what we've had this afternoon, sitting down and talking to us about what their plans are for the coming year for their organization. So November 6th, we're going to be in Los Angeles on a Wednesday. So that's really coming up here, about 3 weeks away. On Tuesday, November 12th, we're going to be in Charlotte. Wednesday, November 13th, we'll be in Nashville. And on Thursday, November 14th, we're going to be in Detroit. We're still trying to figure out where in Charlotte and Detroit, but we're going to be at Advent, one of our newest corporate official sponsors of the NSF. Advent's office is there in Nashville, so you can find more information about the meetups up online at sports-forum.com. Certainly write into Carly if you want to get any more information on the meetups as well, but we'd love to see you out there. And like I said, there's no charge. You're welcome to bring friends. It's just a great way for us to get the Forum family together before the holidays all kick in. And wish you a great 2019 and even better 2020 as we're coming up there. So our thank you again to all of you for joining us. We'll be heading, for those of you that were in San Francisco last week, thanks so much. We had our first summit, the NSF Summit in San Francisco. It was great to be up there. We had a heck of a turnout for the first year. We're looking forward to doing that again in the future. Next year, we're going to be adding one in Chicago in May. So you'll find out more about the summit. And of course, the forum itself will be in Atlanta, February 9th to the 11th. And for those of you who are listening in that don't get Selling It, we want to let you know about Selling It. You can find it's a bi-weekly e-zine with great ideas just like this. Again, you can sign up for free. So For all of us, it's a very action-packed October. Our best of wishes to all of the teams that are either starting their season like Alum or continuing their season like Laura is doing and like the Vikings are doing with Aaron and what they're doing there. So we want to wish you all a great Halloween, and we'll certainly look forward to talking to you here coming up. Again, thanks so much for joining us. Take care now. Bye-bye.